Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Amma and Kevin show. Hello, Kevin. How are you today?
I'm excellent, Emma. How are you doing?
I am super excited.
Mhm.
This idea of us was a one day, and all of a sudden we've arrived at day one. So I'm cheering for us both and
Wow,
everybody joining us here. Woohoo!
that's right. This is
Yeah,
great. This is such a good thing to happen.
yeah. So, and I also love our launch topic, the power of community. What does community mean
Hmm.
to you, Kevin?
Community for me is, your surroundings and what around you, and not necessarily just friends and family, but the community in general and what people in your community are involved in, like how you give back to your community, how you get involved in your community, what you want to do with your community, things like that. So it's kind of it's a little bit of everything, like it's volunteering, it's helping, just helping your neighbors. Sometimes you have an older neighbor and they get kind of stuck in the winter or something like that, and they're having a hard time clearing their place and stuff. So you help them out with that. But community is though it's kind of like belonging and being together and kind of just watching out for each other. It's almost like a community neighborhood watch kind of thing, right? Except with everything, like you're involved in everything to help each other, just to make sure that everybody's doing okay.
Mm. Um, from the history of mankind, we've always been part of communities. Communities how we've
Hmm.
thrived, it's how we've raised our kids, it's how we've selected partners, lifelong partners from community. So yes, I agree with you that community gives us a sense of belonging, the opportunity to not feel alone and isolation. Of course, today there's a lot
Hmm.
of virtual community that is of great value, like what you and I share. We're virtual community friends, but there's
Yeah.
also a lot of space for in-person community.
Hmm.
Uh, how is in-person community an active role in your life? Because post-COVID, we've all become a bit introverted or home-based. So what does it look like for you?
Well, right now, I think it's you're right. Like it has taken a while to kind of get back into that kind of environment, so I like to volunteer. I like to do stuff for community, like for people, there's a lot of in where I am anyway, there's a lot of places that people are struggling, like homeless, things like that. But I just like to do stuff. I always make sure that I have cash on hand to hand out because you know what? Nobody has that anymore. Like, and the homeless people can't walk around with an ATM or some kind of debit card machine, right? So, but it's hard for them because like nobody has cash anymore. It's like a cashless society. And that's really like right now the only option they have is to try and get money. So I like to have stuff around. I like to, do things, just to give, extra clothes, stuff like that, like just giving things like that. And then just recently we were looking, there's a place just down the street from where we are, and it's like a community kitchen kind of thing. So they're always looking for volunteers. So we're thinking of signing up to do some volunteering there, just with you can help cook, you can help hand out the food, things like that. So I think that's really important. I think it's important to give back. I think it's important to support your community in the sense of local business, you know,
Yeah.
um, especially when it comes to like food and, just, like there's an ice cream shop, which I have no problem supporting. So there's that. But restaurants and things like that, right? Like whatever's in your community that, like if you could go somewhere to a small business community as opposed to a giant box store, it's probably a good idea, you know? So that it's that kind of thing, I think, for me. What about you?
That's the truth, Kevin. And actually, recently, I just give you a little story. My daughter and I were on the high street, and a homeless guy approached me for some money. But
Okay, sorry. My bad. My bad.
our society is becoming quite a cashless society, as you say. And so I'm always on card or my Apple Pay. So this guy
Yeah.
asked me for any change, and I didn't have any. But I said to him, would you like a sandwich? We can go in the supermarket and I'll buy you a sandwich. And he's like, no, I don't want sandwich. I want cash.
I know, right? I'd rather starve. I just need a cigarette.
So
But
do you want to go find the nearest cash point and draw out money and bring it to me? And
mhm,
yeah, that just made me laugh. It made me think. So yes, you asked me about what does community mean for me. Okay, so community has evolved as I get older. When I was younger, obviously I was raised very much in the church community. So in church, there was always things for kids to do, like messy
right.
play or like girls guide. Um,
Oh yeah.
as I got older, there was more opportunity for me to get involved as opposed to me to receive support and service from community. So more recently, as you know, I got involved with a local church where I
Mhm,
appear as a life coach and support them through arts and crafts for older people. And also, I'm enjoying being in life coaching communities like Movement Makers and other programs that I'm involved in to meet other coaches from all around the world that I would not have the opportunity
mhm.
of forming a relationship, understanding their struggles, perhaps being a support network for them, and keeping each other accountable in that way. So the power of community plays a big role in helping me to get to those levels within myself that I know I'm capable of. And in community also, especially in coaching, you find somebody that allows you to see that you can be greater than what you're practicing now, right? Stand a
Yeah.
little bit taller, ask those questions that you're afraid to ask, support you
Mhm.
to make those moves that you know you're capable of. But without the community support or without the accountability, maybe you'll let yourself off doing it, right? You know, like there's so many
Yeah.
community challenges that keeps us on track and keeps us pushing beyond our comfort zone because most of the time, we tend to keep ourselves in comfort zone, right?
Yes. I know that is like it's such a big thing, like just with coaching in general. And like you're a life coach and I'm a mindset coach, but seriously, like being in your comfort zone, like and it's referred to like your ego, right?
Mm.
So like your ego protects you. It protects you from making changes, taking a step into the unknown, things like that, right? Which is, something you really have to struggle with to fight beyond, because if you don't, like you're going to just be stagnant. You're going to just stay in the same place all the time. So it's beautiful to have that little comfort zone, especially in the winter with a little blanket and watching a movie and a fire and everything. That's great. But in reality, you can't live your life like that. Like you can't live your life always protecting yourself from what's outside your box. You have to step outside and, embrace those experiences that you're going to get, and find out what more you can do with yourself, with your community, with your work, your life, everything. Like there's all kinds of things. Like you just mentioned, the other day you were doing something with art, and kind of expressing yourself through watercolor. And already I think you've done two classes, and you've come up with like two completely different kind of drawings already. So it's a good experiment, and it's good to see what you can reach inside of you and pull out.
I tell you what I love about that class and talking about community, Kevin. Um, it is the ability to see beneath the mask, right? We all walk around with this armor. How are you? I'm
Hmm.
great. The conversation is always in kind of
Yeah,
like a predictable format. But in this kind of art class, going deeper and expressing emotions, either past emotions, present emotions, people share and connect with you on a very deep and meaningful way that is
yes,
so
yeah, yeah,
sacred and is so special that I would never have the opportunity if I met somebody in a coffee shop to go that few layers beneath, like
yeah,
things that are
yeah,
held in. And it's so nice to hold space for people to speak it. Obviously, once we finish our paintings, we share with each other and explain what it means and how
right.
we overcome or what the limiting beliefs are and how now you can put it on paper and be separate from it. I love being in my art community. I think it's
I
something I
know it's
really
great.
look forward to, and I'm so happy I signed up.
It's kind of one of those things. It's kind of touches on your authentic self as well, right? Like that sense of authenticity, and then this, like now the way everything is with people, work and social media and everything, people are so not authentic. They're trying to be people that they want to be accepted, to, get more views, things like that, right? Like it's you're no longer like you're becoming a separate entity of your own self, right? Because you're not digging deep into your own being to really understand yourself anymore. Like people are not going that route anymore, which is it's kind of scary. And I think that's part of the difficulty that, just to generalize, but just in the world, like with all of the things that are going on, there's people like governments and representatives that are just so unreal and unaware of, I think, themselves, because they can say and do such horrendous things that they couldn't possibly be in touch with themselves, because I truly don't believe there's a human being on earth that wants to cause that much damage and destruction. Like why, right? Like you're trying to one up another person, but not in a good way. Do you know what I mean? Like I want to be a good basketball player and I want to one up you, so I'm going to bust my butt to do better. And these guys are like, we want to blast the heck out of your country and we're going to bust our butts to do better than you. It's wrong. Like it's bad. It's such a negative environment right now.
I intentionally don't listen to the news, Kevin. And
Oh, no.
I know a lot of people feel you need to be updated with world news, world events. But when I check
No.
my emotional thermostat, when I listen to the news, it's full of so many things to worry about. It fills me with
Yeah.
stress, anxiety, things that I
Hmm.
can't control. And I like to focus on almost creating a bubble where I feel relatively in control, meaning that I can make a change and I can make a difference. So rather than
Hmm.
panic about policies and government changes and things that the world leaders are not doing, what can I do in my own
Right.
community? That's why I like to
Right.
be part of a church community where people are lonely, so I can go and sit with some old people and chat to them for
Yes.
half an hour of my time during the week, or join a messy play with and support the children to be in arts and craft and make them feel safe. So,
Hmm.
and then there's so much distractions. Oh my God, all the notifications that come up on our phone. My inbox is so full of junk.
I
I don't know.
know.
You
Yeah.
sign up for one or two things and everybody buys or rents a
It just
database,
blows up.
and then it
Yeah.
just blows up and there's just so much noise all the time. So I think it doesn't feel safe to go inwards because we're all like our
Hmm.
highest value, most of us, right? Doesn't matter what
Yes.
nationality,
Yeah.
what financial status, we all want to feel safe. So safety is our
Hmm.
highest valued. And the only safety that we can have, really true safety, is the inner safetyness. It is so difficult to go inwards. So
Hmm.
it's easy to get
Yeah.
distracted, right? Because then you're busy or you're occupied or you're not thinking about, like you said,
Hmm.
who am I really? Where am I going? And
Yeah.
that's one area of me right now, self-mastery, that I'm really focused at. Quieting
Yeah.
down all the noise, detoxing my house as much as possible, decluttering as much as
Hmm.
possible. I used to have
Yes.
so much stuff, more than I needed, but life has changed,
I
right?
know,
I work,
right?
I work
Yeah.
from home. I don't need all that stuff. I don't
I
entertain
know.
half as much. Things have changed. So I'm trying to downsize my outer world and in my inner world and just focus on that one thing, make that one thing my one thing,
Hmm.
drive forward. So right now, the things that are really important to me is obviously my being a great mom. That's my
Yeah.
first love, supporting my
Yeah.
kids. And that requires me to be really good as a vessel, take care of
Hmm.
myself. So I have an accountability group, a workout group, who, we're in a WhatsApp chat together. They make sure you come in tonight to the class, or you come in today to the class.
Right.
So no matter what, I got to get an hour's worth of workout in because I know it helps me to love on the people that I want to support.
Yeah.
And it's a lot easier when you're in community of people who are encouraging you, supporting you, cheering you on.
Yeah, for
Even when
sure.
you feel tired, you're looking forward to seeing them. So it
Hmm.
inspires me and motivates me to get out there. Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. That's what it's all about, right? I
Mm.
remember when we're like, because I've just been in Montreal for a few years and part of that was COVID. um I haven't, like, I really still kind of new, so I don't really have a huge community of people that I know and things like that. I've just kind of leaned on my partner's friends to sort of
Mm.
occupy my entertainment time. um but I remember that when I lived in a small community in Ontario, just like 100,000 people, right? And I lived there for a number of years. But what I found most incredible about that was just because all these people, like you would get like Scoop every time you went somewhere, right? And I love Scoop. Oh, but what I used to love was, because I worked in the political environment, and I was always kind of doing, something to represent the person that was representing the community and just going out and doing things. But I found myself a lot of times dealing with seniors and going to seniors' homes and making sure that they were aware of what was going on and things like that. With because they were entitled to vote, and you wanted to make sure that they voted and things like that. But you would get into like the most incredible conversations with people
Mm.
because they're so much older. Maybe not so much now, but at that time they were. I'm very quickly catching up. But they just their outlook on life at the time, and when you think about it, like they struggled the most. They really had nothing. Like they didn't, internet and all of that stuff that we have. Um, they always have these like fantastic stories about how people work together to accomplish things, and that's something that I think that is really missing now, that people don't have that sense of community and belonging and support that they used to have. It's unfortunate because it was such a great time. um, and it would be wonderful to find ways to bring that back and get people to have that feeling again. But most people are so, like, I know friends that live in apartment buildings that have lived there for like 10, 20 years, and they don't know the person that lives next door.
Yeah.
It's weird. I could never
Yeah.
do that because I never shut up. I just like, oh, hi, how are you? Blah, blah, blah. Like, I would
Want some
just be like,
cake?
hey, how are you? Yeah,
Yeah.
what are you cooking for dinner tonight? You know? But I know a lot of people that don't even know the people that live across the street from them. It's weird.
Yeah. Kevin, you touched on something really important. Sunday just gone, I called an auntie of mine who lives in Switzerland, and she was talking about this very thing, right? How maybe the generation before, the elderly played a very important role because they were our access to knowledge, information,
Yes.
tools, resources. But now that we've got technology that, you can find a recipe for anything, you don't need to call your grandmother
Yeah,
for that recipe.
I
They're
know.
almost becoming forgotten or redundant. And because they also haven't been able to keep up with the technological shifts, like they
Hmm.
don't know how to do IG lives or anything like that. There's not much space in community for them. So she's feeling quite isolated and lonely because her grandchildren have grown up and they don't need her as much. There's that shift going on. So the
Yeah.
question, what now? What do I do now? What is my life purpose and
Hmm.
mission? She's Even though she's almost 80, she's still very active. She's still, she goes
Yeah.
to the gym, she can cook for herself. She lives alone actually. So you're so right. There should be a way for us to still have our healthy, active,
Yes,
healthy people to be part of community, find a way to be part of community. Because my dad
for
also,
sure.
towards the later ends of his life, complained about loneliness. And
Yeah.
because
Right.
we're, as mums now also, we're so much more involved. The pressure on the children is so much more homework, projects. It's
Hmm.
really hands-on. I always felt guilty that I didn't make as much time for him as I would have liked to.
Hmm.
Or because also people are getting older and healthier older. So he wants to keep his
Yes.
mind
Yeah.
active. He wants to be
Right.
doing things. It's not like they're in a retirement
Yeah.
home waiting for God. They're still active. They're still strong.
Exactly.
They're
Yeah.
still
I know.
functional. They're still got,
I know that. I had like friends that we have. There's probably about 4 or 5 of them that their parents. or at least one of their parents are still alive, and they're very active with them, which I think is absolutely great, right? Like they're really involved. They invite them to dinners. Like I always find it amazing when you go to a friend's place for dinner and they invite their mother. I think that's so wonderful, right? Like it is like it's just so cool, right? And it helps them as well. Like they feel more included and they feel more, involved and things like that. I think is really cool. So
Yeah.
as a note to people, remember your parents and invite them for dinner. There you go.
Yeah, that's so true. So what other community would you like to be part of or build? Where do you see a space in the world, right, where is a problem and you would like to build a community to resolve that problem?
Well, I think it would be nice, like just what we're doing, that people could come and, even if like we're just talking about random topics that we feel are important, but
Mm.
people have the opportunity to post in the comment section and things like that, things that they'd like to hear about and that we could talk about, right? And build a community that way and have a place for people to go and spend a few minutes just to kind of figure things out, right? Like, we don't have the answers to everything, but we'd certainly do our best to find some answers and some things that would help you through some difficult times. I mean, that's what we do for a living. Yours is life coaching, mine is mindset coaching, not only in business, but in personal lives. Like I coach a lot of people just to get over difficult situations, like limiting beliefs, things that happen that they can't let go of, right? Like, for example, a lot of people have issues or blame a lot of their existence or what they've done in life on their parents. Like, my parents didn't do this, my parents didn't do that. And and the first thing I tell people that come to me with that issue is you you have to forgive your parents
Mm.
for whatever you think they did to you because it is holding you back from so much. Like no parent comes with a booklet on how to parent,
Oh.
and no kid is exactly the same. Like I know for a fact, like I have two adopted boys, and hung out with people that have their own children, and my kids came from a really difficult start, and other people's kids came from everything. They had everything you could possibly. You'd think they'd have a perfect life. They'd be smart. They'd do well in school. They had exactly the same problems as my kids did. Right? It doesn't matter. It's just like you know you could have a child that's disabled. It's not because of you. It's not, anything that happens. It's just the way it is. But your parents did the best that they could do with what they had and felt that they were doing the best that they could do with how they worked. And you have no idea what your parents were going through mentally themselves or the difficulties that they were struggling with, like how hard it was for some people to be a parent, those types of things. So you have to forgive your parents for that and stop blaming them for everything that's wrong with you, and stop wishing for the kind of parent you wanted after they're gone. Like it's never going to happen. Like you have to stop. Every experience that you had in life, there's something good inside of it that comes out of it. So like look back on what your parents were like and how your life was. Like without them, what would your life be like? Or something like that. What would your life be like? Not backwards. But if you think like what would it be like? Like maybe it would be completely different, but you would never have had those experiences. You would never have been able to build the strength that you have or have the emotional capacity that you have, right? Because of that. So forgive your parents for whatever you feel they did wrong to you and live your life because you're in charge of your life. The moment you can start making your own decisions is the moment that you are now responsible for your life, right? Like after whatever time, even when you're at 6, right? You choose to throw that rock in the window, you have to deal with the consequences, right? Like that is the way it is. When you start making your own decision, you are now affecting the way you live your life and how you get and what you get from your life. So it's up to you. You are responsible for you, nobody else. It doesn't matter.
100%, Kevin. I agree with you so much. And Tony Robbins has a quote that says that we're all from just a dysfunctional family. At
Yeah.
some point, everybody will attribute their upbringing to being not good enough or not what they needed.
Yeah.
Um, and it's so true that those first 18 years with our parents, that whether they did a great job or they didn't do a good enough job, can actually be a limiting belief and a stumbling block in a lot of people's progress, because they're looking backwards, they're focused on backwards rather than the present moment of going forward. And the important thing is, every single day, every single season is an opportunity to restart and reparent yourself. And also, I think forgiveness plays a massive part of this journey, because I know that even if I didn't forgive my parents, because Maya Angelou has a quote that says, when you know better, you do better. They didn't know any better to give me any better. They couldn't give me what they didn't have. Right.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
I wanted a dad that was more affectionate, that would love, like he was loving, but he wasn't the type that would hug and give you a kiss and all of that. He didn't know how to do that because nobody did that for him. But in my older years, I got to be the parent that I wanted for me, for him. Isn't that interesting? So now I mothered him, even as his daughter, the way I would have liked for him to father me, the way I showed affection towards him. Initially, it was a bit uncomfortable for him. He didn't know what to do with himself. But then he got used to it. He got to it. And then I saw him giving that love that I wanted for me, for my children, right?
Yeah.
Like you're saying, when he passed away, I was also able to see the innocence in a man that I couldn't see in his living years, and understanding his story, like from his pictures and his journey.
Yeah.
His vulnerability, his pain, how challenging it was for him to be even the version of a father that I might have questioned, right? He did really well from where he came from. And I never saw him with those compassionate eyes. So I really, truly believe that everybody's doing the best that they can with their limited availability of resources. And the most powerful thing about human beings is that at any point, you can reset, reframe, and decide, unlearn, relearn, to move forward and get to the next possible best version of yourself and create your own destiny. I really believe that our parents are just the vessel that brings us here. And if you had a roof over your head and you were fed and you got to the age of 80 and you moved out, they did okay. The rest is up to us. The rest is up to us.
Yeah, and it is all about forgiveness, not only your parents, but yourself. Like, you have to forgive yourself for your past. Like, you just, every day is a new day. And if you made a mistake yesterday, fix it, or just forget about it. Like, if you can fix something that went wrong, go ahead, if it makes you feel better. But otherwise, just keep moving. Like, everybody makes mistakes. The whole idea of living is to learn through your mistakes. If you're making mistake after mistake after mistake and learn nothing, then there's a problem. But if you're learning and you make mistakes and you learn and you don't do it again, and you recapture different things and you do better and you change, that's what it's all about. Like, nobody's perfect. It doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter, if you're the best personal achievement guru, Tony Robbins, whoever. Like, it doesn't matter. Do you think Tony Robbins has ever made a mistake? Like, come on, right? It's just, it happens all the time to every single person. Nobody's perfect. Nobody has the answer. And if you go back and look at all of these people who are preaching about, all the things that you have to do to run a good business, it always comes back to the same basic foundations of existence. And, you could go back to like Jim Rohn and go back to the very first, like Zig Ziglar, like back. They're telling the same thing over and over again. All we do is just change the wording, but it's the same thing, right? Like, it's all about mindset. It's all about, like, from the beginning of time. It's like, the first caveman, you got a bad attitude, get a better club, right? Like, it is what it is. Like, it's really truly basic in principles that people have such a difficult time believing. But it is, if you just choose to believe that you can do better and you want to do better in your work, true grit gets you there. Like, that's what does it. Work your ass off and get what you want.
Yes. Talking about believing, I also think it's really important to surround yourself with people, talking about community as well, who believe in you. The power of having a community who believe in you. sometimes they believe in you more than you believe in yourself, and they
Yep,
remind you of who you are, what you're capable of, and
yeah,
help you to break those desires and goals and dreams down into actionable steps. That makes a big difference. Successful people
absolutely.
fail just as much as
Ab-
anybody can fail. Actually, they might even
Probably
have
more.
more failures because they've
Yeah,
been willing to fail that much more times and get up and go
exactly.
again. So
You
it's
you only need one person like that 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 believes in you, that is there for you when you fail. And this is a thing like this, oh, I believe in you, I trust you, I think you can do it, I know you're doing good and everything else like that. Are they there when you don't have anything? And when you've failed, you're flat out, are they still there? It's that person, and you only need one. That is that person that is there for you no matter what. That understands what it's like to be an entrepreneur, what it's like to run your own business, what it's like to still want to do something when you have absolutely nothing left.
yeah,
Right? Like, like you're existing on nothing, but you still want to go and do it.
yeah.
That's the person you need.
I think the mistake we often make also, Kevin, on that is that, especially as women, I'm going to speak from the perspective of women because I am a woman and I coach a lot more women. We tend to put a lot of pressure on the people that we know to be that person, our
Mm-hmm.
husbands, partners, our best friends. And entrepreneurship is a unique journey that not everybody will get it, right?
Oh,
Not everybody has the experience or skill sets to contribute something towards what you're doing. Sometimes their belief is, oh, quit what you're doing and go and get their day job, right?
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Because
for
this
sure.
isn't working out. It isn't working out for them. And sometimes it's also they're reflecting their own fears. As an entrepreneur, particularly in modern times where we have to do things like step out our comfort zone and step on social media,
Yeah,
a lot of people are so afraid of being judged and public opinion. And I was as well.
yeah,
And I
for
was
sure.
seeking support in my community, meaning in my home environment or my friendship group. Oh, did you see my post? Did you like it? Did you comment on it? But they don't get why
Mm-hmm.
you need that confirmation or validation. That's why it's important to
Yeah,
have a coach that
yeah,
is making some of those moves that you want to make. And they
yeah,
understand what it is that you need reflected back on you so that you can keep believing in yourself and keep making those uncomfortable moves to grow. So I think it's important to obviously have a support network that is based on friends and family who love you, a home community, but it's important to
yeah,
understand they're separate when you're trying to grow a business and to find a
yeah,
business community who understand those unique challenges and can love on you and support you in that way.
yeah. I agree 100%. It's very important. It's very different. Like but I don't think it's actually, you said that mostly women, but I don't think it is. I think men are just as guilty of it. Like they expect the same thing from their spouse, if not more. They expect more from uh, a woman in terms of support. Like, you should be supporting me, that kind of thing. Like, I know I'm not with a woman myself because I'm gay, but like I sometimes expect the same thing from my partner. But I know a lot of my friends who are married with women, they're the same. Like, I think that's just a natural expectation, that you expect the person that you're spending your life with to be the person that's going to support you the most, and expect
Mhm.
them to understand absolutely everything that you go through. And that's just not the case, right? Like, everything is different. And you're right. It is separate. Business
Mhm.
is separate. Your spouse is going to support you. Yay, good for you, go, right? But they're not going to be the person that says, like, when you're lying in bed and you're like, oh my god, I cannot do this again. They're not going to be the ones like, get up, get up. They'll say, yeah, you're right, why don't you just take it easy, get up
Stay
whenever
with
you feel
me.
like it. Right, exactly, right. And you need the person to say, like, get
I
up
think
and
it's
go.
also how the media represents romance, right? We expect one
Yes,
person to be everything. The notion of soulmate, he has to understand
yeah,
all your
yeah,
ups and downs. And the older I get, the more I'm understanding that my husband or my partner, my life partner, he has a separate role and he does that very, very well. He does support
yeah,
me. He does believe in me in my entrepreneurship, but he's not in the arena. So he
yeah,
doesn't understand exactly what I'm going through. And that's also okay. And And in a way, everything happens for a reason, because
Yeah.
what you don't have in your partner really sometimes is for you to give it to yourself. You know, where in
Yeah.
myself am I still
Yeah.
fragile or vulnerable, and how can I make myself stronger? How can I expand my self-awareness, self-belief, self-confidence? So it's an opportunity also to grip, and all of this is skill set. It's a skill set. For me, it looks like some powerful affirmations at the beginning of the day to really
Yeah.
remind myself about my strengths, my capabilities,
Yeah.
you know, my resilience, and also that it's okay not to be perfect at everything. And actually, it's okay also to suck sometimes, you know. If
Yeah.
I don't, if
Exactly.
I'm not prepared to fall down, or if I'm not prepared to fail, or if I'm not prepared to look like a complete idiot, I'm
Yeah.
holding myself back to some degree. So yeah, it's about surrendering, I would
True.
say.
Exactly. So that's it. That's good. Good lesson. Thanks,
Yeah.
Amma.
Thanks, Kevin. This has been great. Thanks, guys. Please like, comment, put in details of how we can support you. What are the
Absolutely.
communities that you belong in? What community would you like to start up? Would you like to invite us to your community? Let us know.
Yeah, absolutely. And watch for more, because we're going to try and do this on a regular basis, and then hopefully it'll just keep growing. And then we'll have this fantastic community of people that want to watch and learn and get new things every week.
Mm.
So here we go. We're on
Kevin,
our way.
can you ask a question about community to the audience and how they can find support in community?
So my question would be, like, what are you doing to contribute to your community?
Mm.
And if that is something that you do or participate in, let us know in the comments what exactly that means for you, and what do you do for your community? And
Mm.
that could be any community that however you want to look at it, outside, inside, family, neighbors, whatever. Give us some
Mm.
comments, and give us some feedback, and let us know what's going on with that.
Mm. And then I'll ask a question. So you ask
Yeah.
that
Okay.
question. I'm going to ask, where are you struggling in life, in your health, in your relationship, in your finances? And where could you find community to support you with those challenges that you're going through?
Good one. That's great. I'm looking forward to seeing what some people write in there. It'll be good.
Okay.
All right. Enjoy it, as the Boy Scouts do. All right.
Cut.
Take it easy. We'll talk to you soon.